Hi there everybody, it's Greg Page here, and today, it's 3 months ago today that I suffered my sudden cardiac arrest on stage with the Wiggles. It was the 17th of January, today is the 17th of April. So today I'm extremely grateful that I'm here. I'm extremely grateful to those people who stepped up and performed CPR on me. Steve Pace, Kim Antonelli, Therese Wales and Grace Jones. Now Grace and Therese particularly volunteered out of the audience, which was remarkable that they did that. And of course Steve had just drummed a 1 hour 20-minute show with the Wiggles, and Kim, you know, I have no words to thank you all, but Kim, you were there immediately because of the actions of Luke Field and Tyra, who called over the radio that there was something wrong. So all of these people, I'm extremely grateful to you. I thank you for my life, because sudden cardiac arrest kills too many people. Looking at the stats, I was just looking yesterday at some of the stats. Just here in New South Wales, I can't believe, in 2017 there were 8,200 cardiac arrests. 28% made it to the emergency department. So that's only 28% that made it to emergency to be looked after. Only 12% made it out of hospital. That number, that 12% number, is way too low. Look, this is something I didn't know, well, I was going to say much about, but I think as I look at it now, on reflection, prior to my cardiac arrest, this is something I didn't know anything about. Yes, I knew of the term heart attack, I knew the term cardiac arrest, but I had no idea what the stats are around it and what the outcomes are, and the outcomes are just not good enough. There's so much that we can do as a community to look after each other to make those outcomes much more improved. We need to make sure that more people know CPR and step up and have a go. Look, even if you haven't done a qualification, if you haven't done a course, and haven't received a qualification in CPR, you can still know CPR, all right? It's not hard to learn it. The most important thing though is to do good quality CPR, and that's where a course will help you. So look, two aspects to this: know CPR and know how to do good quality CPR. If you come across somebody who's experiencing a cardiac arrest and they need CPR, if you don't believe you know CPR, have a crack, because you can't do more harm than you can good. That's the important message to understand. Those 4 people, between the 4 of them, they worked on me for about 20 minutes before the defib shocked my heart back into a normal rhythm. That CPR kept the blood flowing around my body to my brain, thank God, because I can still function. And that's the other interesting thing. Out of those 12% of people that make it out of hospital, I haven't seen any figures yet. Well, I have seen some, but I can't verify them. But it's only a small number that come out of hospital still functioning at a high capacity, and thank God I came out functioning pretty much the same way I was before. Look, I have my brain function, I have all my faculties about me, and that is a testament to the CPR that was performed on me. So if you can, learn CPR properly so that if you have to do it, you know how to do good CPR. I'll be doing a lot of videos around CPR and AED awareness coming up. So if you stay watching my channel, I would be very grateful, because it's important information, and I hope I don't bore you too much with this, but it really is important. I'm going to do some other fun videos as well, but there will be some really important messages that I want to share with you all. So I'm grateful to those people for doing the CPR that kept me alive and kept my organs functioning so that I can still be functioning the way I was prior to my event. The other thing I'm grateful for is the fact that Castle Hill RSL had an AED on site, an automated external defibrillator. That device saved my life in conjunction with that CPR. So thanks to Steph, thanks to Abe, look, I know it must have been an absolutely awful event for you all to have to witness, and for those people that did the CPR, I can't imagine what it would have been like for you. You know, for me, I was totally out of it. I was unconscious, or, you know, barely alive even, you know, speaking frankly. I don't remember much about it at all. For those people that were there and witnessed it, it must have been something, you know, out of a movie, and quite surreal. For me, it's extremely surreal. I know it happened to me, but I was not aware of much of it. I'll just quickly speak about what I am aware of. I don't remember much about the show at all. there's probably three things I remember. I seem to remember Fatty, Jeff, started one of the songs in the wrong key. I seem to remember we had audio issues at the start of the show, and I remember wanting to do Monkey Dance, and at one point I think I went over and pointed to the set list with my foot and kind of said, look, I want to do Monkey Dance, let's do that. We've left that out. Because I love that song, it's a lot of fun. I love doing Wiggles shows, and that show I was looking forward to because it is a physical challenge, and obviously that night, the challenge, I was not up to it. So there's a few messages out of that, but as for what I remember, I don't remember much at all. I wish I did, because it's probably the last show I'll do with the Wiggles, but I do remember lying on the floor after I collapsed. I don't remember actually collapsing, I don't think, but I remember lying on the floor on my back, all spread out, exhausted, absolutely exhausted, thinking that it was just from the show, but kind of struggling to breathe. It's a hard feeling to try to explain, but I haven't watched the show back. I watched the very end part of the show back where I did collapse, because I was kind of wanting to know what happened. It was, as I said, it was so surreal to know that it happened to me but not remember, but at the same time for it to be such a public thing that everybody else was kind of aware of that I wasn't. So I watched back the end of the show, and when I watched it back I could hear my breathing through the microphone. When I heard that I think reminded me and made me remember that feeling of lying on the floor trying to breathe. And that is, look, I was going to say it's the last thing I remember, and it probably is, but it's still not a clear memory. It's more a feeling memory of what it felt like to be lying there struggling to breathe, and it wasn't concerning, it wasn't distressing, it was just like a feeling of, man, I am so exhausted after this show, and not knowing what was happening to my body at the time, not knowing that shortly after that my heart was going to stop beating properly and I was going to stop breathing. So that's really all I can remember. And then waking up in the hospital, and I don't remember anything between that point and the hospital, other than at some point whilst I was unconscious going through this whole experience, the song I Love It When It Rains was just going through my head over and over and over. I can remember waking up and, like a dream, just remembering I love it when it rains. So Muzz, that's probably a testament to your song that you wrote, that it's so good, it's stuck in my head throughout that whole experience. So apart from that, that's all I can kind of remember of that whole experience. Then waking up in hospital, and it's even from that point onwards, it's all a bit of a blur. But being in hospital and saying to my wife Vanessa, who is a cardiac nurse, not at the hospital that I was at, but she was at home watching with the kids, and she wasn't really aware of what had happened, but she was at the hospital there when I got there, and asking her, what happened? Do you know what happened? And she told me, you're having a massive heart attack. And that moment, that was quite surreal too, because I just never thought I would be a candidate for a heart attack. Yes, okay, I know my diet over the years hasn't been great, or hadn't been great for a long period of time, I guess through my teens and probably into my mid to late 30s, but it had changed. And I thought, back when I had my health issues at the end of the 2000s or mid 2000s when I left the Wiggles, I'd had heart tests done, I'd had stress tests done, and back then when my diet was not so good, everything was fine. So I thought, now okay, I'm in my late 40s and I'm still exercising, I'm walking, I'm going to the gym, I'm playing cricket. I thought I was fit. I did not think I was a candidate for a heart attack, and most certainly a cardiac arrest. So that moment of realising what had happened, hit me quite hard. Even though I was out of it, I was not really processing things quite well. Then the next memory I have is waking up in the hospital, and the nurse there, Adrian, who was wonderful. I mean, all the staff at Westmead Hospital, you were incredible. You really looked after me so well, and I don't believe that was just because I'm Greg Wiggle. I think you guys do an amazing job no matter who you are looking after. So that is very much appreciated. You made my time there and my recovery very easy. So Adrian was the first person I remember seeing, and he told me where I was and what had happened. And he told me that I would have a very sore chest because of the CPR that was performed on me. That again was another just shock moment. It was like, hang on, not only did I have a heart attack, but I had CPR performed on me. So that hit me pretty hard. Certainly the cracked ribs for 7 weeks afterwards, broken, fractured, cracked, whatever they were, I don't know, but they were sore for 7 weeks, and I'm glad they were. So thank you, Steve, thank you, Kim, thank you, Therese, thank you, Grace. Anybody who had a go at pumping away on that chest and keeping me alive, I am so grateful that I had those broken ribs or fractured ribs, whatever they were. So that's what good CPR is about. Not about for the sake of breaking somebody's ribs, but that's probably what it requires to keep somebody alive, to push that deep into somebody's chest, to massage the heart and keep it pumping effectively. So that was really then, my first memory of what had happened. Then it was even more surreal to be flicking on the TV and seeing news reports about what had happened to me. I remember the Sunday morning, I think it was, I woke up and put on what we have here in Australia called the Sunrise Show, Weekend Sunrise, and Muzz was on there with Grace, who was one of the people that helped out on the night, and Brian Parcell, who was one of the Ambos, who by sheer coincidence lives in my neighbourhood, lives probably 2 minutes from me. And I was watching them talk about the whole thing, and again, just so surreal to see people talking about something that you're not aware of that relates directly to you. And obviously it relates to them. This is their story as well, because they were there. They witnessed what happened. They were a part of saving somebody's life, and that is something quite incredible. I can't imagine that being on this side of it, the feeling of the feeling of gratitude, you can't find the words for it. Okay, sorry about that. Just as the emotions were getting a bit much there for me, the camera had decided to stop recording. I actually had recorded a whole lot more after that, not knowing that the camera had stopped, and I was really happy with what I'd recorded, but now I've gone back and looked at what happened, and I've got to now try and pick up from where the camera left off for me. But look, yes, I got a little bit emotional there. I'm doing really, really well, probably because I don't remember a lot about what had happened. I know that for some survivors of sudden cardiac arrest, that's not the case. Some people struggle with depression, and they struggle possibly with survivor guilt. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of that for me, but look, it's not causing me a problem, because I know that this has happened for a reason. There's a lot of work for me to do in a lot of ways, but mostly in the sense or in the area of creating an awareness for sudden cardiac arrest and how prevalent it is in our society, how many people each year it kills. It kills far too many people. And also how we can try and raise those survival stats for sudden cardiac arrest, because it's easy to do, and that might be a little bit glib or a little bit, might seem, I don't know what the word is, trite maybe, I don't know. But it is easy, because if more people know CPR, if more people have a go at CPR, if there are more publicly available or publicly accessible AEDs out in the community, those statistics will increase. Not everybody can be saved from sudden cardiac arrest, as far as I understand it, because there are always going to be variables at play. But having those things in place as part of the chain of survival, that is going to help increase those survival rates. So please, stick with me on this. There's going to be a lot of videos. Not all of the videos on this channel are going to be about sudden cardiac arrest and how to improve survival rates, but there will be a lot. There's going to be a lot of videos coming up, and even hopefully some webinars soon too, educating people on sudden cardiac arrest and what it is, what happens during a sudden cardiac arrest, how you can help people that you see having a sudden cardiac arrest, how you can improve your heart health in general so that you don't experience a sudden cardiac arrest, learning CPR, what CPR is, how to do good quality CPR, and learning how to use an AED, and just general advocacy for AEDs and CPR. So stick with me, everybody. There's going to be some education, but there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of music as well. We are going to have a great time, and hopefully you're going to learn a little bit about what is potentially the world's biggest killer. And hopefully you don't have to go through what I went through and what those people on that night had to go through to save my life in order to learn about it. So stick with me, everybody. I'd really love your support.